The world's smallest baby has arrived, and the circumstances of her birth are truly remarkable. The mother of the most premature baby ever to survive is sharing her story about how she had to plead with doctors to save her daughter, who is now a joyful and healthy 4-year-old. Baby Layla Stenad was born in July 2014, weighing less than 1 pound at just 21 weeks gestation. Many hospitals advise against resuscitating babies born before 22 weeks due to their extremely low survival rates. So when her mother, Courtney, who was in the hospital for observation, went into early labor, her pediatrician advised her not to resuscitate. However, Courtney fought for her daughter, and Layla was resuscitated and survived, becoming the earliest and smallest preemie baby survivor. Her mom knew she was a fighter from the beginning. Courtney said she had been feeling off when she was 21 weeks and 4 days into her pregnancy. When she went to the bathroom, she reached down, and tiny Layla grabbed her finger. The baby gave a whimper, but she wasn't breathing after she was born. Layla continued to surprise doctors, and 4 years later, she appears to be a happy, typical kid. Now, Courtney has finally spoken about giving birth to the youngest surviving preemie and has shared photographs of her smiling daughter for the first time. She added that while Layla is a typical toddler who loves playing and interacts well with other children, she does have a speech delay, seemingly the only remaining sign of Layla's life-threateningly premature birth. Premature births in the U.S. have risen for the 3rd consecutive year after nearly a decade of decline between 2007 and 2014, according to a November report from March of Dimes, an American nonprofit working to improve the health of moms and babies. Almost 1 out of every 10 infants in the U.S. is born prematurely. A birth is considered premature if the baby arrives at least 3 weeks early or prior to 37 weeks of pregnancy. Premature babies, or preemies, suffer a greater risk of breathing problems, feeding problems, and are more susceptible to contracting infections. There are multiple factors that can raise the risk of a woman having a preemie, including a previous premature birth, pregnancy with twins or triplets, an interval of less than 6 months between pregnancies, obesity, and hypertension. Courtney, 36, who lives in San Antonio, had none of the known risk factors. Something didn't feel right, so I reached down, and the baby grabbed my finger. Courtney recalled about the moment she gave birth at 21 weeks. Courtney's previous pregnancy with her son Hayden, now 5, had gone so smoothly that her second pregnancy was not considered high risk until her 20-week ultrasound. During the examination, her OB/GYN discovered that her cervix was 2.5 centimeters dilated, something that typically doesn't occur until the 9th month of pregnancy. She was sent to Methodist Children's Hospital in San Antonio for a couple of nights of observation and bed rest, but was eventually sent home. I was 20.5 weeks pregnant when I woke up to a pool of blood, she said. I rushed back to the ER, and because I was over 20 weeks, they sent me to triage. If I had been under 20 weeks, they would have just admitted me to the ER, and my daughter would not be alive today. Courtney said that for the next week and a half, she felt so weak that she couldn't get up. It was when she was 21 weeks and 4 days pregnant, while going to the bathroom, that she started feeling off. Something didn't feel right, so I reached down, and the baby grabbed my finger, she said. Luckily, my OB/GYN was on call that night, so they rushed me into delivery, and within 10 minutes, she was born. Baby Layla was born in July 2014, weighing 410 grams, or 14.4 ounces, just 2 ounces more than a standard 12-ounce can of soda. She measured 10 inches long, about the length of an envelope. Courtney said her daughter gave a faint cry when she was born, but she wasn't breathing. Currently, many obstetric and pediatric societies recommend that babies born prior to 22 weeks of pregnancy are not evaluated for viability or have resuscitation attempted on them. So when Dr. Kashif Ahmad, a Mednax-affiliated neonatologist at the hospital, entered the delivery room, he initially counseled against resuscitating Layla. I was holding her all the while with the umbilical cord still attached, and I just asked him to try, she said. They took her to the warming tray, and she went from blue to pink. Then they took her to the NICU and put in a breathing tube along with all her lines. A 2015 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that survival rates of preemies have increased between 5% and 9% in the last 3 decades due to improvements in neonatal care. Infants born between 22 and 23 weeks gestation have about a 75% chance of survival without severe impairment. However, babies born at 22 weeks have about a 23% chance of survival, and 2/3 of survivors do not have severe neurodevelopmental impairment, the report says. Dr. Rad points out in the case report that more research needs to be done on the survivability of babies born before 22 weeks. Those who aren't familiar with preterm babies might think that most or all would do very well based on this one case, he told dailymail.com. Babies who are born at 22 weeks, who are a little more mature from an age standpoint and bigger from a weight standpoint, do better. If we start to resuscitate every baby born at 21 weeks, they would likely not have as good outcomes as babies born at 22 weeks. We reported this case because after this resuscitation, she did well. But it may be possible that this is just an extraordinary case and that we shouldn't expect the same from other babies. We have to learn more before we can make any conclusions. Layla spent 56 days on mechanical ventilation. Doctors attempted to extubate her twice, but were unsuccessful. However, they succeeded on the 3rd try, allowing her to transition to a nasal cannula. At 3 months old, Layla received injections of Avastin, a cancer medication that has shown promise in clinical trials for regressing the disease. Courtney made the 25-minute drive to the hospital every day to visit her daughter in the NICU. I didn't skip a day. I was there from morning to night, every single day, she recalled. After 126 days, weighing 5 pounds and 8 ounces, Courtney and Paul finally brought their daughter home. Layla was never readmitted to the hospital, and Courtney gradually reduced the number of specialists she needed to see. I want parents to know that with early medical intervention, survival and a good quality of life are possible, Courtney emphasized. By sharing my story and Layla's story, I know it can happen.